Hi, everyone. Welcome back to episode 2 of the Depression series. I wanted to just start with kind of the cultural way that we approach, first of all, just greeting people. So, when you meet someone or you see them again, you ask them, okay, well, how are you? And your response is, oh, I'm fine. Well, in reality, one-fourth of all Americans have a firm diagnosis of major depression, and so for sure they're not fine. It's the generic answer we give everyone. And with depression, you just feel overwhelmed because you can't remember what feeling happy is like, and it ultimately leads to suicidal thoughts. It overpowers you, it convinces you that it'd be better for everyone if you were dead. It's almost like it hugs you and it lies to you that it's comforting. It tells you all of these negative things. So when patients come into my office, there's all kinds of phenomenal TED Talks on YouTube, psychologists and physicians that give so much great information on this. But what we do know is that depression, long term, untreated, it does cause permanent, sometimes brain and physical damage. It's not just emotional. For sure, depression contributes to worsening chronic illness. There's a YouTuber, well, he has a vlog. He's from the UK, Jake Tyler, dealt with really terrible depression, and he just realized, you know what, I'm just going to walk all of the UK. And he did. He walked thousands of miles, and being outside almost but cured him. And he's run marathons and is probably one of the biggest, most inclusive clubs in the world. And everyone thinks they're alone, that no one else could possibly feel or think this way, when in reality, I mean, billions of people in the world feel this way. And so Jake Tyler, he joined a running group to heal himself, and it's part running, but also just that, he joined a community of people that were willing to be open and raw and say, "Yes, I'm struggling with this and I need help." And something I just want to emphasize is no one is above anyone else in this raw conversation. Just forget ego. Break down those invisible barriers in the world. Talk about your mental health. It creates true human connection, which is what everyone is starved for. So, whenever you feel worthless or alone, ashamed, you need to replay in your mind moments of human connection and community. Okay, so trigger number 3 is food. So, a lot of the food in the United States is fake and processed. Shocker. Eating a ton of sugar or starving yourself for days at a time, it messes up your hormones. It's going to affect your mood. Sugar crashes, going up and down, super bad for your mood. You need to make sure you're getting good nutrients and vitamins. One of the most common causes of poor immune function and depression, honestly, is just a vitamin D deficiency. And there's been so much research to come out just in the setting of COVID and everything about how important vitamin D is. For the first 6 months, I was testing all of my patients for vitamin D, and all of them just came back abysmally low. So I almost don't even check it anymore. I just put everybody on really high doses of vitamin D. Now, please do not overdose on vitamin D. You will end up with the worst kidney stones of your life. And if you've never had a kidney stone, guys, it's the equivalent of like birthing a child. Very painful. So, making sure that you're getting good nutrients, good vegetables, balanced fruit. I really don't like the pyramid and the 2,000 calorie a day thing, because if you're like 5 feet tall and you naturally just weigh like 120, you honestly probably don't need 2,000 calories a day. But if you're an athlete, super active, yes, you may need like 3 or 5,000 calories a day. Athletes, when they're training, they need like 10,000 calories a day. I encourage patients to be very meditative with how they're eating. Listen to your body. Is it anxiety? Is it depression? Is that why you're trying to eat? There's a comfort in putting something to the mouth. And one of the greatest psychiatrists of all time, Sigmund Freud, he outlined this as an oral fixation. And that's why some people, food becomes an addiction. And that's why, and another great example of why smoking is such a problem. Nicotine is very addictive, but there's something comforting just about having, hands to mouth. Why do you think babies love to have pacifiers so much? There's a psychology, there's a science to this. I've also read a lot of studies, and I read a lot of Buddhist material that encourage you drink your food and eat your water. And that basically just means that you eat slower, really chew your food, taste it. Don't multitask while eating. How often are you eating breakfast in your car while you're driving to work and you're listening to a podcast and you're texting at red lights? You're multitasking, or we work through lunch, we skip dinner, or we skip breakfast. I do want to comment on intermittent fasting. Excellent way to lose weight, but this series is more on depression, where people will tend to go days or maybe 12 something hours without eating. They feel nauseous. There's this aversion to food, or they're eating too much. And so they'll just kind of starve themselves. And that's really not healthy. We need to get to the root of that, but cleaning up your diet. I think that's the hardest part for patients. Healthy food has become very expensive. I'll be honest. I mean, it's $10 or $12 for a salad, where you can go to McDonald's and get a little burger, disgusting thing, for like $2. Or is it like 2 for 2 now? Whatever. Cut out fast food. Watch your sodium intake. The average American is consuming almost 6,000 milligrams of sodium every day. You should really just keep it to 2,000, 2,500 milligrams of sodium. Look at the nutrition facts. Keep a food diary if you need to. But the single best thing that you could do for your depression is to clean up your diet. It causes inflammation in the body. It affects your mood more than you think. That's another reason why I advocate these mood diaries so much, because you also track your food and you'll realize, like, man, I had a headache after lunch. I have a headache every day after lunch. Do I have food sensitivities? Maybe I'm developing a gluten allergy. A lot of patients with chronic depression may, develop like muscle aches or regular headaches, diarrhea. A lot of that has to do with, dehydration, or you're just eating things that you really shouldn't be. Food sensitivity testing is pretty expensive. That's something that you need to talk with your doctor about. Eating garbage or just whatever food is easy and quick is going to hurt you more in the long run. So I can't emphasize enough the importance of just like food prepping, or one day a week, go to the store, make a list of all the things that you need and food prep. Put things in Tupperwares and have your meals planned out. When you have a really bad day, or, if you work 12-hour shifts, the last thing you want to do when you come home is cook something good. Make a huge salad. I'm sorry if you hate salads, but salads are actually really good for you. Divvy those out in Tupperware, and then you've got salad for a couple days. Or make a ton of food and then, freeze it, save it, eat it later. I personally use food delivery services, and it's only, like, when you break it down, it's only like $10 a meal. But I'm on call all the time. Sometimes I get home, I'm exhausted. See, I'm talking about work. I get home and I'm exhausted and I don't want to cook. But I've got good, healthy keto meals available for me. You don't have to make all of these changes immediately. When people do that, they burn out. You need to pace yourself. Don't just radically try to change your diet all at once. Add slow daily goals. So like for 1 week, try just eating, for example, breakfast. Or maybe you hate eating breakfast. I would recommend you eat at least 2 meals a day. 2. Avoid constant snacking. I know there's a lot of diets out there that say, oh, you should eat like 5 meals a day, and then intermittent fasting. Again, that's a conversation you need to have with your physician. But if you are going to snack, make it a piece of fruit, or have some peanuts, or, just something healthier instead of just chips. I promise you'll see an improvement in your mood if you change your diet. Something else that I really feel like needs to be touched on: alcohol. If you're struggling with serious depression, everything I've talked about in this video, I highly recommend that you take a break from drinking, okay? You will never hear anybody say, oh man, I got super depressed and I just started binge drinking and all my problems got better. You'll never hear that. Same with smoking marijuana. Marijuana has a lot of phenomenal medicinal uses. I recommend it for a lot of my patients. However, there's many different strains of marijuana. There's sativa, there's indica. Certain strains can make your depression or anxiety worse, can make your fatigue, your sleeping habits worse. If you have a physician that's open to marijuana, first of all, you're very lucky. Most physicians, I would say the community's like half and half, I think. Physicians that are for it and the other that are still lost in like the 1960s Timothy Leary, like all drugs are bad. If you're seriously struggling with depression, I would take a break from alcohol. Doesn't mean you have to quit completely. That's so American to say, oh, I'm never drinking again. Unless you struggle with alcoholism, then that's a different conversation. Cut back on smoking. I know these are a lot of changes all at once. You can do it. I have faith. So, full disclosure, I have struggled with depression truly my entire life. And I've also struggled with addiction. I found cigarettes. Cigarettes found me when I was 18 years old. And I've quit several times. I quit for a good 5 years and then started again and then quit. And it's a love-hate. You're going to go back and forth. You can do it. Talk with us or me or some healthcare provider if you need help quitting some of these substances. You may realize you're actually addicted to alcohol and you didn't know it. So, here's the science. Alcohol increases and changes receptor expression on neurons, on your heart. Alcohol addiction, if you're used to drinking pints a day of something and then you just stop suddenly, you can have severe seizures and even die. So if you're addicted, you really need to go slow with that, wean off, check yourself in, inpatient, whatever. That's a whole nother conversation. Maybe it's another series I'll do later. But what happens though, because we've found these ways to cope, whether it be with marijuana or alcohol, we rely on that as a crutch, right? And then you become addicted and then it's extremely hard to wean off. So take a break from alcohol. If you can take a break from all the other substances, you'd be amazed again how much your mood changes when you actually come off this stuff.